Yo boys, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing some good old-fashioned Outlaw Rogue, and we are doing some 3v3 arena. Now we are playing with a Ret Paladin and a Priest. Just some random comp I decided to play. But I will say, Outlaw is way worse than I thought it was. You can really only make it work with a Frost Mage or a Boomy. And even then, the damage is so low in some of these games, it's unbelievable. It is very unbelievable. I'm running a tricks build, which means I'm giving my teammate 15% extra damage. But that being said, you'll see during these games that it feels like we're not doing anything. We're not doing any damage. We're really not doing anything at all. These are the first games that we started to play that I just happened to just log on and try it. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I played it in 2v2 arena. You guys kind of saw how that went. So overall, we end up blinding for Trinket pretty much for free. We get his sack as well, because he actually, I think he's pre-sacked, but he's still trinketed anyway. I think. I wasn't really paying attention, but it's whatever. So you'll see my damage, and I'm actually going ham on damage. It's not like I'm not doing damage. Like, I'm sitting there trying to do damage. And if anybody knows a grappling hook macro, so a mouse over macro, let me know in the comments down below, because I cannot figure out it. So if anybody knows the mouse over, just so I have it in the future, and for future guides, it'll be nice to have. But yeah, we were pretty much doing negative damage, and I've been hitting somebody the entire game so far. So the Destro is still out damaging me, and he's only casted a kill spell like once this entire game. So here we end up getting a really good smoke bomb. We almost end up killing him, but unfortunately, yeah, I don't really do any damage. Um, I'm probably gonna end up switching this guy back over to Sub Rogue. I'm not gonna lie. At first, I thought it was gonna be viable, but it's really just it doesn't do enough damage. Like it's some of the worst damage I've ever seen. So it's like I don't think I really want to play it anymore. Now when it did a little bit of damage and you get like a lucky roll and then it does some damage, but like it would need to do that consistently. Like I need to be able to kill something in a stun for it to be, wanting to play it. And with the damage that I had now, and this is a high-end game rare, so this is probably one of the games I did most of the damage. As in, I usually I don't even do half the damage I'm doing now because I'm focusing so much on damage that I'm barely doing any CC. I'm pretty much just doing flat-out damage, and I still can't even keep up with a Destro Warlock that we're training. But also then again, we were playing a random comp, and we're just playing to just play the game. So here we end up lining his bolt, which probably would have killed me. Um, or grappling hook. The best thing about grappling hook is using it to literally just run across the map. And you'll see here, my guy gets cyclone. We literally end up running across the entire map. And that's the best thing about Outlaw is its ability and its survivability. Unfortunately, its damage is pretty trash. But my rat ended up absolutely obliterating him with tricks. So we actually ended up winning the game. We got a lucky feral kill, and we take him out. And as you can see, my damage is semi to none. Now this is a game where my wretch is absolutely. This guy's running a current Gladiator mount, and look how this game goes. So these are all Gladiator level plays, and the HPL is a current Glad. So this is what usually tells me if somebody has bought their Gladiator or not. Because of this right here, you'll see. So at first the game looks semi-okay, he sacked. Look at my Ret's damage. So my Ret's just soloing everybody with tricks, because I already tricked him. And you'll see here, this guy literally just dies. So he gets precog for my Ret, and just dies. He doesn't click a single button, he doesn't do a single thing. And that was my every cooldown, by the way. So I barely did any damage. My Ret literally did 3 times the damage I did. And that's just how it goes. So we end up somehow winning in the opener versus a Gladiator level team. And you could tell he definitely 100%. Now, anytime you face an Arcane Mage as like a double melee, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Mages are, especially Arcane and Frost, they're just absolutely disgusting specs, especially when you're facing it to like 2 melees. It's like they should never lose in any world, shape, or form. Not only can they not be touched, and they have the most broken burst damage, they have the most broken CC, they literally should never die to a double melee. It should be physically impossible for them to die. That's why we're going to Windwalker, because we faced a mage that was playing with a warrior, and we literally could not catch him. It just wasn't possible. Every time we got up to him, he'd just get away. constantly. So it was like, okay, no more going mage unless you're with like a hunter or something or a caster. It's just there's no point in going them. They do too much damage. They're just the best. They're guaranteed S tier. But here we end up going Windwalker because that's pretty much our only chance. You'll see my damage. I'm almost getting out damage by an H POW. That should tell you enough. So here we're trying to keep up with the damage, but again, I wouldn't really expect much with Outlaw because it really doesn't come down to damage here. So we DR Kidney into a gouge, so we ended up at about a 4-second CC gap, which gives us just enough time to get a rep off that. So it was actually a really good CC chain, even though it was DR Kidney. So we end up getting sheeped, and at this point we are gonna have to just try to do more damage. So here we vanish. Anytime you're vanishing on any spec, you're cheap shotting everything if possible. Now on sub rogue, you may not be running subterfuge, so that's gonna be way harder to do. But as at least as outlaw, it's good to do. So we end up getting trinket bop from a rep because rep paladins their reps can be insane. I see every rep running rep just because it's so strong, very strong. So that being said, we end up absolutely obliterating him. We would have lost the game right then. My rat actually almost dies still. So the mage is still soloing to my teammates to this day. It's a 3v2 at this point in time, and my guy almost ends up dying. So we got very lucky, and we lose this 2v2 100%. It's not even close. Especially when I'm as outlaw. Now if I was as sub or sass, we easily beat this. Uh, because I'm obviously, that's just how it is. Obviously, well, technically an arcane mage should never lose in general, but unless it's like a shaman or a hunter, those are the only two counters to a mage. Is a hunter or a shaman because of a grounding and 10-second kick, and then hunters just melt. They'll melt everything. Anything clothy, they love it. So here, a lot of people don't know how to face rusted druids. Now this goes on anything. If you want to beat a rusted druid, you have to go them at least some. It's the only way you're gonna beat a rusted druid. A lot of people still don't understand that. You will never beat a druid unless it's lower rated, unless you go the druid at least some. You don't have to full send it on him, but you need to go him once a DR. That's pretty much it. So here we end up trying to get him out here. Somehow my stat macro just doesn't locate him, so that's nice. So here we open. He's probably gonna try to knock me here. He ends up breaking me. So we end up immediately tricketing and doing big damage on him here. So this is every CD I have, and I'm still knowing, like, if you look at my damage compared to the Reds, it's not even close. And that's just the ironic part. But, I ended up tricksing my Ret, and thankfully, if my Ret wasn't doing unhealable damage, we wouldn't stand a chance, because I don't do enough, obviously. So here we gouge into a cheap shot, and then we stun the warrior as well. So here we're just spam CCing the rest root as much as possible. And that's how we get Trinket. So we've gotten Trinket now. At this point, we can bomb him. So if we want to kidney bomb or wait until the next CC chain, we can do that. So here we can vanish and then immediately cheap and bomb. So he's actually just going to die here. Yep. So here, again, it was just overkill. Even with the DR cheap shot, the game's over with the gouge. And again, this all comes down to literally my ret just doing unhealable damage. That's it. There's nothing to do with me. I'm literally doing beyond negative damage. I'm doing just enough CC to call it CC. This was the last game we had that we actually lost. Because I didn't want to play another Outlaw Rogue game. It's actually miserable. I hate playing Outlaw. I enjoy the rotation of it. It just sucks. It really does. It does no damage. Its survivability is good, and that's about it. Like, it's just sub and sass is just better. And those aren't even that good to begin with. Sub's probably the best spec for Rogue right now. Just because of its burst damage, and Assassination just doesn't do enough overall pressure. It's good if you're playing with like an Affliction Warlock, but other than that, Assassin isn't even good either right now. Sub is really the only A tier Rogue spec right now that's viable in a sense. RMP, pretty much the only one that you can play. But regardless, I had a little bit of fun playing it. Obviously, I'm gonna be switching it up again, so I will be going back to sub. I did give it a try at least, but obviously it's not gonna work. This is not enough pressure to finish kills. So it's like, I gave it a shot. I'll still do guides with it, and obviously I'll keep the gear in handy in case I want to do guides. Or if it gets a big buff in the future, who knows. So here we end up getting a really good CC chain. You'd think the game would be over, but he ends up bopping my blind, which is actually a really insane bop. Because I did a massive CC chain. It was like a stun to a gouge to a blind into a bop. So we got a lot of cooldowns. But even with my Blade Fury, I'm literally doing almost less damage than the Priest. Even they're doing no damage. My ret is literally doubling their damage with my tricks. So again, they're getting 15% extra damage every pretty 45 seconds to a minute. So it's a lot of damage. That being said, that's how it is. Obviously, we're playing a bad comp. You can make it work in a sense, but let's be honest, we need to be like sub. Really, if you really wanted to make it work, it need to be sub. So here we get a really good CC chain here. Can't really do anything off of it. He did end up getting a really good fear, so that was nice. And then off that, we can gouge here soon. Off this fear. Pretty much the game's over though. Once my Ret Paladin's burst is done, pretty much we're dead. There's not much we can really do. As you can see, I'm literally not doing enough damage to get a guy to 90% HP. So hopefully this guy deters you from playing Outlaw, at least for the meantime. Obviously, if there's buffs in the future, we'll go back to it. But for now, we're going to go back to sub and wait for buffs. Even though, I mean, just in general, Rogue isn't that good at the moment, to be honest. It's just not good. Unfortunately, it's been like bad this entire season pretty much, other than like a month of it. But it is what it is. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know which spec you guys want to see the most. But I will be getting a sub rogue build and stuff going on, so we'll be swapping back. But regardless, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.